All right. إن ال... إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل له فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما. Everyone, another stream. Today we're actually have a guest with us who you have seen before, Brother Asim Iftikhar. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, I am fine. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And thank you for joining us again. Brother Asim Iftikhar has joined us twice before. He's done very insightful presentations on our channel. And mashallah, we are continuing this collaboration with Brother Asim Iftikhar on this very interesting topic, which is also a very important topic. Especially for me, I've always been interested in what Muslims have contributed to modern society and uh, the to the world at large on how we've actually gotten here. So, how did Muslims contribute to building the world? I'm also joined by Brother Athar. Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah. So today's session, it would be a presentation by Brother Asim Iftikhar first, and then inshallah after that we'll allow our audiences to join us, both Muslims and non-Muslims. We can have a conversation, ask questions about the presentation itself, and if you have any insightful, uh, anything insightful that you want to discuss, just bring it up. Assalamu alaikum, Ali.
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing?
Alhamdulillah. All right. So, Brother Asim, whenever you're ready, I'm just going to bring up your presentation and then we can start, inshallah.
Yeah, we will start. Jazakumullah khairan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. It's my pleasure to join this stream and you're on your channel again. Alhamdulillah. So welcome all the audience. So inshallah today we will present uh, some insights related to history and especially the history which has an impact in scientific real. So first of all, we have to go through some basics. And what is basics? So we have to know every science, every knowledge has some assumptions or some beliefs, like related to the purpose of the knowledge or what is the inspirations on which the knowledge is based. So basically, we will deal with some basic questions, some fundamental questions. Then we will move to the core segment related to history in science, and um, we will not touch the metaphysical part like culture or the theology, or we will skip these traditions, these slides, inshallah. So, first of all, we have to understand we are talking about a legacy, a traditions, which is deeply rooted in Islamic civilization. So, what is this tradition? What is Muslim intellectual tradition? So, before understanding what is Muslim intellectual tradition, we have to understand what is intellectual tradition basically. What is uh, exactly we are referring to. So, intellectual tradition is a path of every civilization, like every civilization have some sort of intellectual tradition. If you will look in Chinese history, in Indian history, in Greek history, or some like the Mesopotamian history or Egyptian history, or the ancient other civilization and culture, you will find there that they are engaging with the fundamental questions, and they are seeking to get answers like what is nature, how we have to deal with our experiences, and these kind of fundamental questions. So any traditions which is trying to answer the fundamental questions of human life, human being, either related to like ghaib or unseen world, or beliefs, or anything related to the seen world, or the observations or the natural sciences. So intellectual tradition is basically tradition which try to find out with the fundamental questions, and on these answers they try to build their other branches of knowledge. Why it is important to know the Muslim intellectual heritage? This is the main questions, like why we are focusing on. So this question has multiple answers, and multi-layer answers. To understand this question, why it is important to study Muslim intellectual heritage, we have to go in the past little bit, and we have to understand, like before the modernity, or the before the modern era, what the Muslim were doing actually, and what we have lost when the Muslim is not on the driving seat. So what was the loss of the human civilization? So modern civilization and the Islamic civilization is very different. Islamic civilization is like Christianity or Judaism or other religious civilization, is based on God-centric worldview, and they answers your questions from the God's perspective. And the modern civilization is human-centric. They are sense-centric. They are pleasure-centric. But the Islamic civilization is not like this. So basically, Islamic tradition is very important to every religious person who see the world from God's perspective, or who wants to put God in the center. So it is equally important for Christians. It is equally important for Jewish, and of course, it is important for Muslims. So maybe people think that okay, Muslim intellectual heritage will only the heritage of Muslims, but in larger scale, that is not true. Muslim intellectual heritage is basically the heritage for all the religious people. So, like whether you are Christians, you are Jewish, or you belongs to some other religion, it doesn't matter. It is equally important because in the core it elevates the God centric viewpoint in the intellectual traditions. So that's why study and knowing about the Muslim heritage is very important for the people who are living in the West as well. What was the inspiration for this civilization, this legacy? So, of course, we say that the inspiration for all this activity or all this enterprise was Quran, and the emphasis of Quran on knowledge. But here is a catch. So the concept of knowledge, I think we have discussed in these last two streaming. We have discussed a little bit about knowledge, so we can refer that streaming also to understand what is the concept of knowledge in Islam. So just a little description. So knowledge is different in Islamic tradition in comparison to modern tradition. Modern tradition, knowledge is limited to the material world or natural phenomena, and beyond natural phenomena, the you can't say that is like the discussion of God. So anything around God or metaphysic or the ghaib is not knowledge, because that is beyond sensory experiences. But Quran emphasizes on the knowledge which includes the knowledge of ghaib, knowledge related to ghaib, unseen world. So in Quranic perspective, knowledge is little different what we understood today. So there is a historical context how the present Muslim civilization. So all the civilization actually is Muslim civilization, but we are referring to the present Muslim civilization, which started after the last prophet. So before the last prophet, every prophet do the same work, do the same dawah, same message, and on that message, on that wahi revelation, a civilization flourish or emerge, developed. So in that sense, we are saying that all the tradition is Muslim tradition actually, and they like added some non-Islamic things in that, like shirk or kufr or something else. So they corrupted the actual Islamic traditions later. But we are referring here the present Islamic tradition, which started after the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, like we have expanding Islamic caliphate after Nabi alaihi salatu wasalam. Then the Muslims conquered Persia, Rome, Byzantine, these areas, and they established the learning hubs like Mecca and Medina. Then in Iraq there is a city Kufa, and then in Abbasid period they established Baghdad, and after that in Umayyad period, like Umayyad Spain or Undulus, they established many cities like Cordoba and Granada, etc. And like still we have many learning centers around the world which is established. Like if you will go from Morocco to Indonesia, we have many learning centers. In Morocco we have Fez, we have, then in Jazair we have uh, Qarwin, and other centers like we have Azhar in Egypt, and in Saudi Arabia, still like Mecca and Medina. These are the learning hubs. Then in Syria, we have Damascus. Then if you will move to Central, still we have many learning center. If you will move to South Asia, like Indian subcontinent, we have many learning centers there. Then if you will move to Southeast, like Indonesia and Malaysia, so still we have many new and the old one, which is working as a hub of the knowledge. Now we will skip the some discussions related to like the component or theology or fiqh hadith. So basically these are not the topic of today. So we are skipping this. So we will move to science and medicine in Muslim intellectual traditions. First of all, we have to understand what is contribution actually. So we are talking about the contribution. So what we mean when we say contribution? So contribution means anything which is beneficial. And what is beneficial? Modern world has very limited definition of what is beneficial. So they see the benefit only from the lens of pleasure. If there is pleasure in something, that is beneficial. And pleasure means physical and psychological pleasure. And if something is not converting, not translating into physical and psychological pleasure, that is not beneficial. So this is the very limited view of modern epistemology or modern worldview, like when they, how they define benefits. In Islamic tradition, in Islamic sense, the actual benefit is when your work or your struggle or your efforts, your life is translating into something where you can find the result in hereafter. So that is benefit, the concept of benefit, actual benefit. Along with the reward in hereafter, you are also getting some physical or psychological benefits here in this world that will also included in benefits. So we have a comprehensive understanding of benefits. What is benefits? So basically, contribution is something which is resulting in benefits. And what is benefit? Benefit is something resulting good in this world and in hereafter, both included. If something is resulting good here but is not leading to the reward in the hereafter, that is not benefit in Islamic traditions. So we have to understand this definition, how Muslim civilization look the terms benefit and how they define the benefit, and then we have to see their efforts. So the foundation of scientific inquiry was Quranic inspiration, as I discussed before, like 2 3 slides before, that the Muslim civilization got inspiration from Quran. Quran encourage to understand the natural phenomena. Why? Why the Quran encourage? To get pleasure, to get more and more comforts in this world. So no. So the basic purpose to understand the natural phenomena is to know the God, to know Allah. What is natural phenomena in Islam? Like how we define natural phenomena. So natural phenomena is basically the action of God. Like in this world, God is active. Yeah. So we have some certain beliefs. God is active. God has a direct relationship with this world. So God is acting in this world every moment. So that action is called basically natural phenomena. So the this is a very logical, the conclusion that if the act is present, if there is an act, so there will be a doer. Yeah. So action leads to us, the doer. So when we look into the natural phenomena, we reach to the conclusion that there is someone who is doing this act, and that is Allah. The second purpose is, so first purpose is to know Allah. So from natural phenomena, we know Allah, that there is someone. And also the second purpose is to appreciate God and to appreciate his attributes. And the third purpose is that we understand that there is no conflict between our natural, the observations and the faith. So Islamic tradition is not the history of conflict between science and religion. So this opinion is very popular that science and religion have conflict, but Muslim tradition is not related to this. Like if you read the Muslim intellectual tradition, you will not find any kind of conflict between our sensory knowledge and our reason based knowledge and the knowledge which is coming from wahi or revelation. So this conflict was present in Christian world, and when the Orientalist or the Christian scholars work on a Muslim history, they presuppose the same condition for the Muslim civilization also, and they put this angle that there is conflict between science and religion in Muslim tradition also, as it has in their own tradition. So this lead to the miscalculate and misunderstand what is going on in Muslim society and Muslim um, civilization. So we have to understand that Islamic history is not about the conflict of science and religion, and like every scholar, if you'll find many principles how to conflict, how to solve your conflict between sense, reason, and revelation-based knowledges. So, like sometimes it appears that the knowledge which is coming from senses has conflict with the knowledge which is coming from revelation, and the same way sometimes it appears like senses has like conflict with the reason. So we have Muslims produced many principles how to solve this conflict. So basically Muslim tradition is not related to the conflict between science and religion. Either the Muslim tradition's hallmark is to harmonize sense, reason, and revelation. After understanding this, now we have to look how the science working, or how the scientific enterprise was there. What is pioneering contribution of Muslims in the field of science? So we have many branches of knowledge. The the one branch of knowledge which got established and developed hugely was astronomy. And astronomy was directly influenced to Muslims' religious activity. So it was basically um, driven by how to pray, and like Muslim have to pray 5 times a day. So they need a specific direction, and that is Makkah or Kaaba. Yeah, like wherever you are staying, you are living, you have to face to Kaaba 5 times a day. So this leads to work in the field of astronomy. So they developed tool like astrolabe. So that is, if you will go and search related to astrolabe, you will find many advanced astrolabe which was invented by Muslims. In Muslim world, like they got knowledge from Greek civilization and Persian and Indian traditions. So they were using the Ptolemy's model, like that was geocentric, of course, geocentric model Ptolemy. But what is interesting that the Muslims have written extensive account on the refutation of Ptolemaic model also. Like there is a scholar named Ibn Shatir. He was a muaqqit, or the timekeeper in the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, Jame Ummi in Damascus. He has written a refutation on the Ptolemaic model. So at the same time, Muslims were developing Ptolemaic model, and there were specific people who are working under that model. But at the same time, there were some intellectuals, some people who were criticizing that model, developing a new model. So Al-Battani refined the Ptolemaic models and calculated the solar year. So we have many solar calendar in Muslim world also. Like there was a mathematician called Umar Khayyam. He was a Persian, and he developed a solar calendar. And interestingly, that solar calendar is more refined than the present one we have, the Georgian calendar. uh, like we have leap year, I think every 4 year, yeah. So every 4 year we have a leap year. But in that Omar Khayyam calendar, we have a leap year after 70 years. So that is more refined one. In mathematics, like Al-Khawarizmi and Omar Khayyam, as I mentioned now, Omar Khayyam. So Al-Khawarizmi introduced algebra and algorithms. So these two branches in math is highly influential. Like our all system, all computers, all gadgets are working on algorithms, which is developed by Al-Khawarizmi. The name itself inspired by his name. So algorithm is basically is a Latinized version of Al-Khawarizmi. So, al and Khawa is go, and then we have res. So this is rhythms. So rhythmi is so algorithms. The word algebra also coming from the word algebra wal muqabala. So you can see this the front page of kitab, the page from his book kitab. So kitabul jabr wal muqabala. This, so basically the name was algebra wal muqabala. So algebra is coming from algebra wal muqabala. The other scholar, we have many scholars, as I mentioned, Umar Khayyam now, on the cubic equations. So he worked on cubic equations. He find many concepts in mathematics. Then we have the field optics and physics. We will discuss later also in detail. So optics and physics, like Ibn Haytham worked in optics and he wrote a book, Kitabul Manazir, books of optics. And it is established that he is considered as the father of this father of optics, the modern optics. Then we have medicine. In medical field, we have Ibn Sina, who wrote a canon of medicine, Al Qanun fi Tib. This is a multi-volume book and a comprehensive commentary on medical issues. So Muslim also invented many tools like in surgery, in pharmacology, and they also developed the understanding how the contagious disease works. So these findings are, it seems very on the normal today, but they were groundbreaking. So they were a milestone in medical history and other field. So coming to mathematics. So Arabic term for arithmetic is hisab or ilmul adad. The foundation of arithmetic theory, ilmul adad, originates from two key sources. One is Euclid's book, Euclid's Elements, and then Introduction to the Science of Numbers. So these two books are Greek-based books, but also Muslim also uh, get benefits from Persian work and Indian work. So like we have a book called a sin. So this was a Sanskrit book which got translated into Arabic. There were many translators who are working in math field. So like Sabit bin Qura, he was a Christian earlier, and then it is said that he became Muslim. So he was working in Baghdad, Sabit bin Qura, and he was translating many books. He was an employee, basically, employee of the Caliph. After understanding arithmetic, we have to understand modern number system. So we can see here so many numbers is there, 1 2 3 4 in Arabs, Indians, Devanagari, Bengali, Gurumukhi. So you can see that the first two one is very similar, very similar. The modern number system, referred to as the Hindu-Arabic system, highlights its roots in the numerical tradition of India and Arabia. A key feature of this system is its reliance on the concept of zero. So, if you will look into the Roman system, there is no zero. So, zero was the groundbreaking invention in human history. How to materialize this concept zero. So, Roman tradition doesn't have this system. The term cipher or the cipher, used for numerals and in expressions like incipher or decipher, like I am pronouncing as per Arabic. So cipher or incipher or decipher. So basically these are derived from the Arabic word cipher, yeah, meaning zero. Interestingly, the writing system is Arab. So basically, there were two systems in Muslim world. One is called Eastern system and one is called Western system. So, what is West in Muslim tradition? West is anything which is starting from Libya and going to Undulus. So, the area from Libya to Undulus or Undulus to Libya is West in Maghrib. It's called, even today is called Maghrib, West. And the Eastern tradition is based in Iran or Baghdad or Khorasan. These like the anything which is starting from Egypt to the Mavaraun Nahar or Transoxiana. So that is Eastern tradition. So the today what is used in English, that is the Western numerical system which was followed in Undulus, in Cordoba or in other city. And what is Arabic today, what is called Arabic, that is Eastern numerical tradition. So both, so English or the Roman and the Arabic, both are actually Arabic numeric number system. Moving to the next part, we have related to Muhammad Musa bin al Khawarizmi. Briefly, I have introduced him in the previous slides. He was a pioneering mathematician and scholar. He adapted Ptolemy's geographic hypothesis and authored the first Arabic handbook on Indian reckoning, known as Father of Algebra. So, Al Khawarizmi is known as Father of Algebra. His work significantly influenced mathematical thought, and his work was groundbreaking. He changed the landscape in math as introducing algebra and algorithms. The term algorithm is derived from his name. He also wrote the highly influential treatise on algebra, Kitabul Jabr wal Muqabla, in the later half of the 20th century, 12th century. If you will read this book, Kitabul Jabr wal Muqabla, you will find interesting notes, interesting, the examples and solutions. So, what is that? The book, one book is the one part of the book is dealing with theories of algebra, and the second part is dealing with the solutions, the examples. And interestingly, this discussion is related to Islamic heritage, the issues. Like if he will quote, if this is the situation, how many inheritor is there, what is the left amount by a dead person, so how we will calculate who will get how many, and etc. So this is a interesting account that this is a mathematical book, and the inspiration is coming from the inheritance, the Islamic inheritance system, which is mentioned in Quran. So the inspirations behind this book, you can um, conclude that the inspiration behind this book is the ayah, the verses related to inheritance. The another one is Umar Khayyam. He authored highly influential treatise on demonstration of problems of algebra, which advanced the foundational principles of algebra. So already Al-Khawarizmi has worked on algebra in the past, and Umar Khayyam is developing that concept further. This work formed a significant part of Persian mathematics that later influenced European mathematics. Notably, Al Khayyam developed general methods for solving cubic equations and even addressed some higher order equations. So, he was the person who his work is dedicated to solve the cubic equations. We, uh, we are moving to the next topic, which is astronomy. As I mentioned earlier, that what was the inspiration to work in this field, in the field of astronomy? So it was, of course, Muslim has to pray. Muslim have to pray 5 times a daily, and they have to face Qibla, Kaaba. So development of astronomy among Muslim was driven by practical concern and religious needs, such as determining prayer times. Major centers of astronomical research included Baghdad, Cairo, Damascus, and Maragha. So they have to pray at a specific time, like before dawn. After dawn, then before the uh, uh, after the uh, midday, and then they have to pray Asr, then they have to pray after sunset in Maghrib, and they have to pray a little after sunset, Isha. So they need a specific times. Uh, so they develop some, the centers, astronomical center, research center, and they work there, like Baghdad, Cairo. So it's still the remnant is there. If you'll go to Baghdad, you can find out the uh, astronomical research center. In Damascus also, in Cairo also, in Undulus also, we can find there some observatories. And there is a famous observatories called Maraga observatories. And the Maraga has their own intellectual tradition. So Maraga observatory was very, very influential in Muslim world. So in especially in Eastern Muslim world. And many scholars like Tusi work there in Maraga. Muslim scholars and astronomers developed several important observational instruments, including astrolabe, used to determine the time of day and night, with the planispheric astrolabe being the most widely used type. And another one is Alziges. So that is called Azij, a collection of new tables containing astronomical data. So they like calendar, we have calendar. So they have to calculate the timing of sun and moon, and they have to record it every time. So that is called astronomical data. And that data is has a specific name called Zich. The Arabic terms Mibna and I'tibar were used in astronomy to convey the concept of testing and experimentation. Mibna and I'tibar, these two words used in astronomical field, which means the Mibna is testing and I'tibar is experimentation. During the reign of Al-Mamun, an Abbasid Caliphate, who was in second century, late second century and early third century Muslim Hijri, a team of astronomers created a new set of astronomical tables known as Al-Mumtahan. So they, like every Muslims scholars have their own Zij, and they work on astrolabe also. So we have very advanced astrolabe. We have many detailed version of Zij where you can find the motion of moon and sun and other stars data. Ibrahim al-Fazari, and he died in 179 Hijri. So we can imagine like how earlier they were, as per uh, 179 Hijri and 796 AD. Yeah, 796 AD, or some people say that he died in 190 Hijri or 806 AD. A prominent scholar of his time resided in Ashamsiya district. So Ashamsiya, so you can understand the name itself inspired from the Shams, means sun. So Ashamsiya was a district, was a city under Baghdad reign, on the left bank of Tigris. So this is in Iraq. So this is basically Dajla. In Arabic, Tigris is called Dajla. He is credited with translating the Indian astronomical text Sindh Hind, as I mentioned. Now, they were inspired also from Indian text, and they have many Indian accounts, and they also translated these accounts into Arabic. So Sindh Hind is one of them. At the request of Al Mansur, so Al Mansur was a caliph. Making this knowledge accessible to the Islamic world, Al-Fazari also contributed to the planning of Baghdad's foundations and was the first in the Arab world to construct astrolabes, a key instrument in astronomical research. So we can trace out how earlier these activities is going on. So many people think that okay, Muslims developed these areas after a long time, but this is not true. Muslims has developed in the earlier era, like in the second century. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away not much, just 150 years ago, and Muslims are doing groundbreaking work in the field of science, also natural sciences also. The next one is Muhammad ibn Hasan at-Tusi, widely known as Nasiruddin Tusi. He was a renowned Persian polymath and prolific writer who made significant contributions across numerous disciplines, including architecture, astronomy, biology, chemistry, mathematics. So we can imagine how a person is expert in how many fields, is a polymath, literally a polymath, and he's contributing in many fields. And that contribution is not like just his writing. He is deeply uh, like uh, dealing with the highly problematic questions in this field. So he wrote related to architecture, astronomy, biology, chemistry, mathematics, philosophy, medicine, physics, and theology. And interestingly, like he was not a Sunni Muslim, but we as a civilization, we as a scholarly tradition, we include the people also who are not coming from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Considering his extensive work across these fields, he is regarded as one of the most influential figures in the revival of Islamic sciences, playing a pivotal role unmatched by any other individual. So we will not find these kind of polymath in Western tradition till now. So in the entire history of Western tradition, you will not find the polymath like Ibn Sina, Tusi, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Taymiyyah, etc. So this is the image of Maraga Observatory. So this is available. We can visit. We can go to the website and we can see this. So this is the site, the plan of the Maraga Observatory Museum. Nasiruddin Tusi persuaded Halagu Khan to establish an observatory enabling the creation of highly precise astronomical tables for improved astrological predictions. His efforts culminated in the production of the Zij al Khani. So, as I said, that the astronomical documents is called Zij, a landmark work featuring meticulously accurate calculation of planetary movements. Furthermore, Tusi's contribution elevated trigonometry, so this is a field in math, to the status of an independent branch of pure mathematics for the first time. So he is not only contributing in astronomy and theology, he has written extensively on theology also from his own Shia perspective. Okay. But he also contributed in math, and he separated trigonometry from other maths field. Now moving to the physics. So what is physics of light? So light is very interesting thing in human history, and it has a human like human being is always chasing to understand light. What is light actually? So light is a remarkable phenomena in human life. So a person who experience light has a very different kind of experience from the person who is not experiencing light. So light is the gift from God, and light is a the baraka, we can say ni'mah for us. Abu Ali al Hassan ibn al Haytham, that is called Al Hazan in the West, commonly known as Al Hazan or Al Hakan, was a prominent Muslim polymath, mathematician, astronomer, and philosopher. He made groundbreaking contribution to the principles of optics and had a profound impact on physics, astronomy, Arabic geometry, ophthalmology, philosophy, and scientific method. So even not only he contributed to the theory of light, He also contributed to the scientific method. So, what is how we have to deal with the natural sciences, natural phenomena? What will be the parameters? How we will verify? How we will judge? So, he has theories related to scientific method also. Ibn Hazm also authored insightful commentaries on the works of Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Greek mathematician Euclid, further enriching the scientific and philosophical legacy of his time. Ibn Hazm wrote a book called Kitab al-Manazir, the book of optics, where he demonstrated that light rays travel in straight lines and conducted extensive experiments with lenses, mirrors, refraction, and reflection. He was the first to provide a clear description and early analysis of the camera obscura and the pinhole camera. So before Ibn Haytham, people think that the light emerged from our eyes and then we see the object. But he changed the theory and said, no, we don't see the object like this. Like light is emerging from our eyes and then going to an object, and we are observing that object. No, this is not true. Light is coming from a luminous object, and then light is going to an object, and then we see the object as a reflection of that light. So he was the first person who corrected this theory that the light is not coming from our eyes, is not emerging from our eyes, and he explained the correct theory how we see. A distinctive, a distinctive feature of Ibn Haytham optical research was its systematic and methodological reliance on experimentation. I'tabar. So Mabna and I'tabar. Mabna is testing and I'tabar is, as I mentioned earlier, and controlled testing, establishing a scientific approach that laid the groundwork for modern empirical methods. But like the modern empirical method is not what the Islamic tradition has seen as empirical method. So modern empirical method is different from the Muslim empirical method. Yeah, the modern empirical method is inspired from the Muslim empirical method, but in modern empirical method, just we are relying on the natural phenomena, and beyond natural phenomena we reject all these things. Coming to medicine, medicine in the Islamic world flourished from the early periods, significantly influencing the development of medical knowledge in both the East and the West. And when we are saying East and West, means the Islamic East and Islamic West. Drawing upon Greek, Roman, Indian, and Persian medical traditions, Muslim physicians advanced the field of diagnosis, treatment, surgery, and pharmacology. Prominent physicians and work. So quickly we will see. I think I am taking too much time, so we will go quickly. Prominent physicians and works like Razi, author Kitabul Havi, Muhammad bin Zakaria Razi. He wrote a book Kitabul Havi, the comprehensive book of medicine, and was among the first to distinguish smallpox from measles. So the people was thinking that smallpox and measles are same, but he was the first person who differentiated and distinguished and said though they have different reasons and they have different treatments. Then we have Ibn Sina, famously known as Avicenna, wrote Al Qanun fi Tib, the canon of medicine, a monumental encyclopedia that served as a standard medical text in Europe for centuries. Even till 18th century, Al Qanun fi Tib was a standard book, medical book in Oxford. Az-Zahrawi is Abu Qasas, Al-Bekasas. He was in Undulus, so his name is derived from the city of flower. So there was a city of flower, Madinatul Zuhra. So from that, so we can imagine the aesthetics of Muslim also, like how they are putting the name of their city. So city of flower, and this was actual name, not the nickname of the city. Actual name of the city was Madinatul Zuhra, and the people coming from that city is called Az-Zahrawi. Father of modern surgery, he authored Kitab al-Tasrif, detailing surgical instruments and procedures. So it is called that he alone invented more than 200 surgical instruments. Then we have Ibn Nafis discovered the pulmonary circulation of blood centuries before it was known in Europe. So we can understand how big their contribution is in the field of medicine also. Abul Qasim Khulaf az-Zahrawi, known as the West, known in the West as I mentioned in the previous slide, known as father of modern surgery. Az-Zahrawi's most significant contribution to medicine is his monumental work Kitab al-Tasrif, a 30-volume encyclopedia detailing medical practices. So 30-volume work only on how to perform surgery. Among his groundbreaking contribution, Az-Zahrawi was the first to describe an ectopic pregnancy, providing a detailed account of this condition, identify the hereditary nature of hemophilia, offering insights into its familial transmission. His pioneering work in surgical procedures and the design of surgical instruments set a standard for medical practices in the centuries that followed. So his contribution is very huge in terms of surgery. Ibn Nafis, I mentioned Ibn Nafis. So he was living in Damascus in Syria. He was the first person who described the pulmonary circulation of blood. He was born in 1213 in Damascus. He studied at the Medical College Hospital in his hometown. So it is also established that there was many medical colleges along with hospitals. So hospitals have medical colleges where the physician do research or they study. In 1236, Ibn Nafis relocated to Egypt, where he worked at the Al-Nasri Hospital, and later at the Al-Mansuri Hospital, eventually becoming the chief of physicians and serving as the Sultan's personal physicians. Upon his death in 1288, Ibn Nafis demonstrated his dedication to the medical field by doing his house library and by donating his house library and clinic to the Mansouriya hospital, leaving behind the legacy that greatly enriched Islamic medicine. So we can understand what was going on in Islamic civilization, how people were dealing with. So this is a great insight that he donated all his wealth, all his books and house, everything he donated to a hospital. So hospital were also working as a model of waqf. So the modern corporate hospital has a very different notion how they look the health of the society, how they look your well-being, mental or physical well-being. How the modern corporate hospital see is very different how the Muslim civilization was seeing humans well-being, physical and mental well-being. That was the very different thing. So in modern corporate world, your health is a source of money. Yeah. And in Islamic civilization, your health is not the source of money. Moving to geography. Geography in the Islamic world thrived as a significant discipline due to the practical and intellectual needs of early Muslim societies, motivated by religious duties, trade, governance, and exploration. Muslim geographers made substantial contribution to the understanding of Earth's physical and cultural landscape. Their works bridge ancient geographical knowledge with the European Renaissance and modern geography. So in modern geography, we are saying, if you will trace out the route, so you will find that okay, the route is in Islamic civilization, how they presented the world and how uh, in astronomical model we have Copernicus. So it is said that Copernicus was highly influenced by Ibn Shatir and he worked on Ibn Shatir model, and exactly they are using the same diagram, same the word event. Like if you will find that dal, so D in Shatir account, so the same D is replaced in Copernicus work. So that is a another different time taking topic to compare Copernicus work with Ibn Shadir. Key contribution to geography, like we have cartography. Ali Dirisi created the tabula Rogernia, a highly accurate world map of King Roger II of Sicily. So he was a Muslim, but he was working in a Christian court, Christian king in Sicily. His maps combine knowledge from Muslim traders and European explorers. So the Muslim traders, wherever they are going, they are writing accounts for their own, business purposes or their traveling purposes. And on the basis of that account, Muslim geographers are um, like making maps. The next is Al-Biruni, provided detailed maps and calculations of latitude and longitude, proposed the possibility of a spherical Earth. So he did experiment and he introduced the latitude and longitude calculations. And he also proposed that our world is spherical. Then we have geographical texts like Ibn Khaldun in Muqaddimah. He analyzed the relationship between geography, climate, and human society. Then we have Al Masudi, known as Herodotus of the Arabs. He authored Murujuz Zahab, Meadows of Gold, blending geography with history and culture. So historical account is also a sort of geographical account, like they are starting from the geographical detail, and then he is starting the he is writing about the history, the geography. We have one person also is called, yeah. So astronomical geography, so another branch which is blend of geography and astronomy. So this is very interesting like they have developed branches within branch. Al Farghani, he authored a compendium of the science of stars, which influenced both Islamic and European astronomy and geography. And advancement in navigation developed tools like the astrolabe and improved methods of celestial navigations. So the navigation was necessary part of their sea route. Physical geography studied Earth Earth's features, including rivers, mountains, and climate zones. Al-Biruni's analysis of Earth's rotation and circumference was highly advanced for its time. This is also interesting that when the colonial route, if you will see the people who are traveling in the colonial era, like people who are going USA and coming to South Asia, they were using at that time in the 15th century or early 16th century, they were using the astrolabe or navigation system which was developed by Muslim, like Vasco da Gama and the Columbus, etc. Muslim not only develop books or branches of knowledge, they also develop institutions where they can learn, where they can discuss, where they can do research. Centers of learning like House of Wisdom, Baitul Hikmah in Baghdad, libraries like Cordoba's held thousands of manuscripts. And as I mentioned, related to hospitals, how the hospitals were working, and along with hospitals, there were research center, there were medical colleges, hospitals in Damascus, Baghdad, and Cairo, advanced facilities with separate wards and detailed medical records. So they were developing institutions which was highly regulated and highly developed. Now discuss about the methodology and approach. So in like, if you we have to understand methodology and approach, we have to understand Muslim epistemology. So Muslim epistemology is distinct from the modern epistemology. So Muslim epistemology relies on three primary sources like sense, reason, and reports. Under reports, there is wahi, khabar. So natural phenomena is the field of empirical observation. So, experiments and replication were fundamental in natural sciences. So Muslims were not doing natural sciences like Greek people. So Greek tradition, there was less emphasis on empirical observation in terms of natural sciences also. So they were purely conceptual sciences. Muslims, what is the biggest contribution of the Muslims in this field is they understood that natural sciences cannot be pure a conceptual science. We have to segregate the pure conceptual science from natural sciences. At the same time, they have interdisciplinary approach, as I mentioned, that they developed they blend the astronomy and geography, and then they developed astronomical geography. So this is the approach, interdisciplinary approach. Today we are seeing this approach that in the research field they are blending many different fields and coming with a new field. Integrated mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy, holistic solutions to complex problems. So, what was the problem in the Muslim society? And the problem was not materialistic. The point of view was not materialistically. So they were not seeing the problem just as the comfort of the life, that okay, we have to achieve the comfort of the life in this world. Basically they were inspired to fulfill the duty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to what the problem they are facing to fulfill these commands. So they are coming with a solution how we can solve this issue and we can perform the religious duties or the other duties comfortably. Yeah, Jazakumullahu khairan. This was a glimpse and very short overview related to what Muslim has contributed in the field of science and natural. This is a long topic, not only long topic. This is a topic which we study for years, for many semesters. So this is just some glimpse to understand that uh, the notion related to Muslim civilization is not correct. That they were just doing uh, they were collecting wealth, and they were ignorance people. They do not know anything related to natural phenomena, what was going on in the nature. So they were unaware about that. So that is a not the correct notion to understand Muslim civilization. Jazakumullah.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Asim. Very interesting presentation. And I would say one of the highlight for me is the idea that a lot of the advancements were actually because of Muslims trying to um, make it easier for other Muslims to understand or to um, implement the knowledge or um, the commandments of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in the Quran, right? Like the idea of algebra actually coming up because of the inheritance law. I wasn't actually aware of this type of interesting relationship there. MashaAllah. Our brother Islam has joined us. Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa
Yes.
barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
I was listening to the live stream so far. Sheikh, there was a wonderful assemblage of different facts about the development of the sciences. MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair.
Do you have any questions or anything, any observations that you want to talk about, or Brother Asim? Do you want to anything specifically that you find really inspiring when you look at the Islamic history and our contribution to science and medicine?
I made 8 pages of notes of things that were interesting to comment on. Only small pages, though. But I don't want to take all the time. Maybe another brother go first.
So, the one question I have is, Sheikh, just a basic background question. How, when the East or when Europe the rest of Europe, the Christians, and when they got this idea, what was their initial response? Initial response of all of these advancements and innovations from the Muslims. Initially, how did they first react to it, and how did they get to accepting it over time? What was the process?
Thank you. So, when Muslims conquered Andalus, so Spain, so via Spain they got connected with the Western Europe, and from Cordoba. So Muslims living in Andalus has less connection with the Muslims living in Baghdad. Rather, they have good connection with the people who are living in Europe. So because geographically they are closed, and also the political situations like the Umayyad was disconnected with the Abbasid centers politically also. So these were the two reasons why they were more connected with the European people rather than the Eastern Muslim world. And the Umayyad worked extensively in the field of knowledge. They built libraries, they built universities in Spain, and it inspired the people who are living in West also. So not only in the field of science, natural sciences, the European world got influenced by Muslims in the field of theology also, like Aquinas, if you will see Aquinas. So he is highly influenced by Ibn Rushd. So, and he was living in Andalus. Ibn Rushd was living in Andalus, Abydos. So the Andalus, the Muslim Spain influenced the Western world in terms of natural sciences, in theology, in uh, the debates related to morality and etc. But it was interesting that in the later 14th century, people got accepted the works, Muslim works, not only in the field of theology but also in other field like philosophy or logic, and then they got introduced by the astronomical world works, and the theologians think that this is not the valuable parts to take knowledge, but there gradually a group of people emerged who thinks that no, we have to take the natural sciences also, and what they are writing about astronomy or medicine. So we have to take the knowledge in that field also. As I mentioned that if you will compare Copernicus with Ibn Shatir, you will find many similarities. Even some people claim that the Copernicus work is not the original work; is a plagiarized work. So at that kind of similarities you will find in their work.
Barakallahu feekum. Because unfortunately, akhi, growing up in the States, a lot of these European figures were the figures that I grew up learning about. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to learn well the truth about where they got a lot of their ideas from the from the Muslims, because I learned about Copernicus, Galileo, even some philosophers as well, and it's very very entertaining to learn actually not only the truth but about all of these figures too. So yeah, I do appreciate it. I do appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I would add that in summary, the real response from the Europeans was denial. Things just weren't even accepted as knowledge until the Europeans understood and rephrased it. And it was really important to the Europeans to view themselves as being a continuation of Greeks, Romans, them. They were the next people to take over the baton in the race. And so everything that was worked on by the Arabs was somehow sort of reverse engineered and planted on the Greeks. So they would find the earliest route they could that was Greek and say that's where it started and that's where credit goes. And this was all part of their project to sort of give themselves historical credibility. And it's also interesting to note that we have a handful of the Arabic books still preserved. compared to the hundreds of thousands that used to be in the great libraries. And there was a good 500 years or so of colonial activity, particularly culminating in, for example, Napoleon in Egypt, a great example, where they plundered all these books and basically took what they could out of them, and then it became European knowledge. Two things worth noting is initially mathematics was like a social hierarchy game. People would hide their methods. They didn't used to share like we see in maths, world today. People used to hide their methods and come up with clever puzzles and try and be smarter than the next guy. And any edge you could get had real financial and social impacts that were really important. So that's definitely something where I think a lot of the knowledge came in sort of by the back door.
So
Sheikh
I
Hassan,
just want to say,
sorry, I just have one more question for the. I just have one more question for the brother. Sorry.
we'll give you chances, but I want to give the guests chances. Hold on. I know Brother Islam, Brother Ali, we've got tons of questions, but just to allow the guests to have a question to Brother Asim, and then
Sure. Be patient.
we'll just be patient, because I know this is especially for you, Brother Islam. This is a very interesting topic as well, right? So, Brother Ridwan, Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you guys doing today?
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So, Brother Ridwan is he comes regularly on our channel on the Sunday streams, Brother Asim. So, go ahead, Brother Ridwan, with your question.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. One thing I just want to point out is when we're making reference to these things, we need to make sure we're not talking as like the Orientalists, giving the credit to the Arab instead of the Muslims. Because of these personnels mentioned in the research are Persian, some are Africans, and some are Arabs actually. So we need to say Muslims instead of saying Arabs. We need to be very careful. You understand what I'm trying to say?
No, I understand where you're coming from. However, remember that the notion of Arab as being a sort of race is actually a colonial notion in itself. Arab just means someone who speaks Arabic. And all of the Muslim scholars from all of those regions were all Arab speakers, and they're all part of that Arabic community in the sense in which they saw. So even the Persians, even though they're native Farsi speakers, they wrote and communicated, the sciences in Arabic.
And Brother Ridwan, our audience, unfortunately, a lot of the young audience today, they do not understand those references. So we do have to make sure that we're making it easy for the audience. But do you have a question, Akhi?
Yeah,
but it's a good point, to be clear that it's not what we view as modern day Arabia wasn't the only contributor. That's absolutely true. It's all across Africa and other places.
Yeah, I understand. I just want to bring that up because, of course, I noticed when the Orientalists are, talking about this topic, this is how they actually reference things and all. So I just want to make sure the references go, or the credit go to Islam, not a race. Let me put it that way. Yeah. So the question I have for brothers, I don't know if you know a personnel called Ziriab. He lived in. His name is Ziriab.
Okay.
So he also lived in Andalusia. So he was given credit for inventing toothpaste, 3-course meal, and 4-season clothing. And I think he invented the precursor to the guitar we're using today as well. So I don't know if the brother have actually heard this name as well.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Sorry, Brother Asim, go ahead, Akhi.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this reference.
Okay.
That's all right.
So, what were the three things that you mentioned? A paste, 3-course meal, and what else?
3-course meal, 4-season clothing,
4-season
toothpaste.
3-course meal, 4-season clothing.
Exactly. Toothpaste.
Okay.
And the precursor to the guitar.
3 halal, 1 haram.
Okay, can you spell his name for me, Aki?
Can you come again, please?
Can you spell his name?
Or just type the name in the back chat. Or
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So basically, uh, we can credit our comfort living to Muslims as well. Essentially, four-season clothing, three-course meal, and toothpaste. Pretty
I think
much.
it's this structuring idea.
You know what, brother Faisal?
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't be patient any longer. I have a question for.
Go ahead, Afi.
I do. I can't. I'm sorry. I have so many thoughts going on in my head right about now. I can't.
Hashtag me too.
Sheikh Qasim,
All right.
how is if you can clarify, please, because the history takes the credit to Galileo for the for the invention of the telescope. So, exactly how exactly were the Muslims able to have advancements in astronomy? Was it because of the telescope, or was it before the telescope? And if it was before, how exactly were they able to do it without it?
So we have to understand the history of knowledge. So this is a part of Western hegemony that they cut off the history of knowledge from the West. So they will not reference any history of knowledge outside of the West. So as brother Faisal mentioned that they start with Greek, Roman, and then they jump to the Renaissance. So there is a the gap in the history of knowledge around 1,000 years gap. So telescope was not invented in Muslim world, but they were very advanced in astronomy. They have observatories, and they have the they have located the area where they can see the star. They can observe the sky. So we have observatories, and the observatory is made as that they can see the more and more sky from there. So their Zeech, their table accounts were based on these observatories, like Moraga in Cairo. In India, we have also have some observatories. In Delhi, we have even the 2 3 is present there, and in Spain also we have observatories. So observatories was playing the major role in astronomy in Muslim world.
Mhm.
So
We've got a
the
couple of. Oh, go
sign
on.
of the observatory is like they can collect more and more data.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to add to that, because the Arabs or the Muslim scholars were brilliant at optics. They were as advanced in 1000 AD-ish as the Europeans were in the 18th century. Now the only thing was, so they designed lenses, but they didn't have the glass making technology and precision grinding, etc., to make them useful enough to make a glass lens based telescope. However, Ibn al-Haytham did write in the 11th century about using parabolic mirrors for assisting astronomy observations. The thing is, they could get extremely accurate results just by building large enough instruments. If you build a big enough diameter instrument, then you can get very accurate arc second measurements anyway. And that was good enough for all the purposes they intended to use it for. The actual sort of use of telescopes to blow up images, essentially, wasn't so much of interest to the kind of uses of astronomy that they had.
So, okay, I have some questions, but I have to go pay my salah.
Before you continue, I just want to, Brother Asim, I
Fa-
don't think you've met with Brother Islam before.
Faisal,
So yes,
I
so
was saying, okay, one second, okay. I was
yeah,
saying
yeah.
I have some more questions, but I have to go pay my salah. So I'll be right back, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Sure, sure,
Sure.
sure. So, Brother Asim, Brother Islam is a theoretical physicist. Is that
No,
what
no,
you
I
said?
graduated in theoretical physics, but I wasn't a
You
working physicist.
graduated in? Yes, and you've studied a lot of the history of sciences as well, and
Yeah.
especially since coming to Islam, Islamic science. and contribution to science and medicine, that has been a very passionate endeavor for you as well.
Yeah, actually,
So,
because I was raised, atheist and in this very much the Western tradition, and the more I dug in to try and understand the rabbit holes and the backgrounds behind all the scientific and mathematical knowledge, particularly physics and maths that we have in Europe, the more I kept digging, the more I found this world open up of the geometry and mathematics that the Islamic Empire brought forward, and essentially became the genuine underpinning that had been hidden from the normal story of physics that's taught.
Mashallah.
mhm. All right, Brother Ridwan, do you have
So
any
I'd
other?
love to work with you, brother, on any materials that you want to do, support you in research or something,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
All right. Brother Ridwan, anything else, Akhi? Did you want to add?
No, Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to bring
Walaikum
up the
assalam.
name. Yeah, I don't think it's a
Yeah,
popular name,
alhamdulillah.
so I just wanted to
Okay.
bring them up.
I'm
Yeah.
going to have to go pray Fajr in 15 minutes. So can I just take a few minutes just to add some observations from Asim's presentation?
Brother Asim, yeah. Yes.
Inshallah. So one was really interesting point he raised about the lack of conflict between science and religion in Islam. In fact, Islam reinforcing it. I think, it was really interesting to note that the Christians needed to supplement their belief system with Aristotle. Because they had to put those two together to make a complete system. Whereas in Islam, the Islamic system stands on its own. And that meant that the Muslims were able to independently study and think about all these other ideas. And that difference is really why it was able to develop in a way that the Christians simply weren't, right up until they're getting lifted out of the Dark Ages. And the I wanted to give one example that I find beautiful, where you compare the Islamic view on nature and Ibn al-Jahiz wrote a treatise on nature, which included very detailed accounts of essentially evolution, changes in species according to environments, and breeding of horses and all this kind of stuff. But in Islam, it's fundamental that there's no racism, no superiority of a black man over a white man, or a white man over a black man. Whereas in Europe, racism was an essential thing. It was, they viewed themselves or they viewed people as in separate races and viewed themselves as superior. And so with Al-Jahiz, this just became part of our knowledge of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things. Whereas in Europe, it became, as soon as Darwin brought this to their attention, it became the great race of the racists, and they found themselves in a Mexican standoff, convinced that they were going to that it was their destiny to annihilate each other. And so comparing those two sort of belief systems, there's a real functional difference in how society evolves from them. I thought that was worth noting. I'll leave the stuff on the astrolabe. One thing I really wanted to point out, though, regarding the astrolabe is the spherical and projective geometry that was developed around this stuff was really extensive, and not just really extensive, it was really fundamental to the actual physics that developed and grew, and was never credited, because it was all just viewed as being something that you can, in theory, build from the old Greek knowledge. And so you'll see in history of maths books, typically only a few pages given to the Arabs, and they're treated as sort of custodians. But when the Europeans redeveloped or rediscovered perspective drawing, which became projective geometry, these became fundamental tools, and they spoke about how wonderful and brilliant and intelligent they are, that they discovered all this stuff, and how they clearly transcended all of the previous people in their knowledge from this. But all it was repackaging of what the Muslims had already put forward. And that's something really important to look into if you see the importance of projective methods in the development of European mathematics. It's all literally just lifted from the Muslims. The other one, the Sheikh mentioned Euclid's elements. Euclid's elements, we only really have, because not just out of preservation, but they also added substantially to the ways it's understood. They also moved around and looked at the ways the axioms can be put together, and crucially, they questioned the fifth postulate, which is the parallel postulate, and they came up with different notions of parallel, which gives you different types of surfaces. This was well known, well covered, but it wasn't until the early 20th century that David Hilbert did the same, basically entirely just ripping off the Arab work and called them three different geometries. And Europeans pretended that they were the ones to see beyond the ancients and developed non-Euclidean geometry. And this was a cornerstone in the idea that Europeans had intellectual supremacy in the field of mathematics. And it was, again, just literally a lifting and rebranding of ideas from the Muslims. So I think they were the major ones I wanted to raise because they're so important in the story. One last one for the for Sheikh to look into would be Egypt, and the French and the Ottomans, and Egypt is a good example because the French signed their first pact with the Ottomans in what was it, 1500 and something. I wrote down, I forgot the exact date. And from that time, they had a lot of people went over to study with the Muslim scholars and brought back a lot of knowledge. When Napoleon went on his campaign, particularly in Egypt, 1798, he established Institute of Egypt. Two of the four areas of study were in maths and the natural sciences, and they pillaged Egypt for all of the knowledge they could find. Now, in that entire time span, not once, not in one single occasion, did the French ever give any credit to any Muslim for anything that they claimed they developed. Literally everything that came into Europe via the French was French, and that is quite stunning to look at and think about. You know, literally in that huge time span, they never gave credit, not once. And in particular, to note, you mentioned the developments in optics around, in Egypt and so on. Absolutely, optics and astronomy and L2C and the 2C couple, combination of circles and lines, and how you can relate linear to circular motion, building up arbitrary curves. Joseph Fourier developed, or is credited with developing, Fourier analysis, which is an algebraic method that's fundamental to physics. You basically can't do physics or can't develop physics without it, especially everything from heat to orbital theory. Fourier had absolutely zero research, zero papers, zero anything in this area until 1798. He went for 3 years to study at this institute in Egypt. He went back and immediately published all of this work. For me, it's quite clear where he learned a lot of this stuff from. Similarly, Malus, who is credited with discovering polarization of light from surfaces, again, comes from the optics that he would have understood, that he would have studied in that same region. So, yeah, that's something I think is really worth looking into, brother, if you want to, is the story of the French pilfering and how all that knowledge got into Europe and was Europe credited.
There's a comment that I'm hoping, Brother Asim, if you can talk a bit about this, and I'll talk. There's a few more follow-up comments from Acadian. Long before Muslims, other people in the area had already given great contribution to humanity. So, Brother Asim, did the Muslims ever claim that they were creating all of this knowledge, or were Muslim scientists, Muslim polymaths, and were they crediting the people whose work they were developing on?
Jazakumullah. So one of the feature of the Muslim civilization is the honesty. So Muslim civilization in the field of knowledge is also honest. And in my presentation itself, I have mentioned, the many civilizations like Chinese, Indian, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, the Greek. So the connection of Greek and Muslim civilization is very well known. But I also mentioned the Chinese civilization. So Muslim have connection with the
Hmm.
Chinese civilization, and they develop the paper. They learn the art of making paper from Chinese, and then they develop the entire industry.
Mm.
So Muslim never claim that everything is coming from us.
Yeah,
So they
the
are,
irony of that comment is that we know that these things come from those other people specifically because the Muslims recorded it and transmitted it, and that's the only way we know in most
yeah.
cases.
So
Subhanallah.
one of the interesting is also that in Muslim philosophical tradition, so who is called the first teacher? Not the person who is a Muslim. The first teacher title of the first teacher is given to the Aristotle in the Muslim
Hmm.
philosophical, the circle. So
Mm.
Ibn Sina or Al Farabi, they are not the given the title the first teacher. Al Farabi is called the second teacher, and Ibn Sina is called the third teacher, the Muallim al Thalith.
Mm.
So this is the honesty of the Muslim civilization, that they are even like Aristotle is not Muslim, he is not Arab, but he is giving the title the first teacher.
Yeah. There is something that I need to point out in relation to Cadian's comment, though, and again, Egypt's a good example. Used to have the Library of Alexandria, founded Ptolemy II about 200 BC. They developed a whole load of sciences and so on. But then, when the Roman Byzantine Empire came along, and particularly after the Council of Nicaea, all of this astronomy was conflated with astrology and was considered some kind of pagan practice. So everything they didn't know was used for navigation got wiped out, and all of this development of sciences essentially ceased until the Muslims came along. Now, a brother made a comment that about 150 years or so after Prophet Muhammad SAW, serious developments came from the Muslims, but actually a lot of them came earlier. It was only in 642 when under Amr ibn al-As, when he conquered Egypt, he immediately brought in knowledge from India, from all over the place, from Mesopotamia
Hmm.
and so on, and kick-started the sciences in Egypt. And so that's why really there was this sort of plateau of development, and it was because of the Romans. So
Yeah.
yes, the knowledge before was developed, but it reached a stasis, and a lot of it was wiped out. And what we have left comes from the Islamic revival.
So, Brother Asim, one other question that comes to mind, right? Because we are saying that the Muslims took it from Indians, they took it from China, they took knowledge from Persians, the Africans from the West as well, the Greek and other civilization in Europe and other places, right? Does that mean, or is there a geographical advantage that the Muslims had because of how they expanded and how they actually penetrated into each of these civilizations? Because probably historically, no one else has been able to do something like the Muslims had done, to span an empire essentially that went from the east to the west. And was this sort of only because of this reason that they were able to do this, or was there a much more deeper reason that we should be talking about?
There are many factors and reasons why Muslims were able to do something which no one can do. So there are many reasons and factors, and one of the reason is geography also. So their locations, their interactions, they can access both the east and the west. If you will see the Middle East, the Arabia, so they can access, and even before Islam, they have trade relationship with both east and west. Like their uh, from Oman, they did travel to till Indonesia. So that is historical. That is in historical records that they have their trade relationship with the people who are living in Philippines and Indonesia and Malaysia before Islam. So they have regular interaction with Indians via sea, and they have their trade relationship with the Roman empires in Sham, in Syria.
Hmm.
They can access both east and west, And the expansion of Islam is also like Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. This is also a prophecy and the proof of the prophethood that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned that Islam will conquer east and west. He didn't say north and south. Yeah, in the hadith that is called. And if you look the early expansion of Muslims, you will find the exact like they are moving towards east and west, and they are not moving towards south and north. Yeah. So that is also a kind of a miracle in Nabi alayhi salatu Islam prophecies. So Muslims can access all the civilizational crux or essence, and on the basis of one more thing, we have to understand that natural science is not an enterprise of a single civilization. It is a
Hmm.
enterprise of all human civilization. Yeah, either pagan or the monotheistic civilization or the pagan civilization. So everyone has uh, contributed. Yeah. So
It,
that is the thing
it's
we have. Yep. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
worth
Yes.
noting
Can I
on the basis of the geography is not sufficient. Islamic philosophy was really critical. I just wanted to make sure that point's emphasized because the Romans had a similar geographic advantage, but their greatest contribution to development of mathematics was killing Aristotle. They developed very little mathematics, and the
Yep.
technology they developed had specific focuses that was very materialistic, which is very different from the kind of healing and other things that the Muslims focused on.
Hmm. Brother Athar, you wanted to add something, Akhi?
Sorry, I
Yeah,
just have to go pray Fajr. I'll see you guys
All
later,
right.
inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I want to highlight one comment, and I want Asim Bhai to address it,
Oh,
because this this question is asked very many a times by non-Muslims, and even it is used as a propaganda by some so-called secular Muslims. So Asim Bhai, there's a question there by a brother named Kifa, and he says, "Can you talk about why the Ottomans banned the printing press?" Because I guess it's somewhat related to the topic today.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to understand all debates. So the statement that Ottomans banned printing press as a general statement is not true. As a general statement that Ottomans banned the printing press is not true. So yeah, and in a specific context, that is true that they restricted. So using the word banned is not correct. You can use the word restricted, the printing press. So why they restricted, where they restricted, what was the area? So basically, what is the use of printing press? To publish book? Yeah, that is the purpose of the printing press. If you look at the Muslim civilization at that time, Muslims were very fluent in writings. So writing system was very much common system in Muslim society. Everyone knows how to write, and printing press was a difficult technology at that time, and the masses cannot afford that technology. The common people cannot, and common people rely on their own handwriting. They don't need to buy the books from others because they can write. And the one more thing is the Islamic civilization is deeply atheistic uh, civilization, aesthetic. Sorry, not atheistic, aesthetic civilization. Yeah. So they
Hmm.
have their own taste, and the printing press doesn't have any, the beauty in their writing, in their printing. And if you will compare the Muslim writing at that time, the books at the time, that is very elegant, that is very beautiful. Uh, and especially if you will look the Quran. So Quran need uh, some certain kind of uh, purification before printing, and printing press doesn't have these kind of features. So Ottoman restricted printing press in the field to print Quran. So basically, they restricted the printing of religious books. But at the same time, there were two printing press in Ottoman region. There were two printing press, running two printing press, and some Christians and Jewish was they were running the printing press and they were publishing their. So the notion that Ottoman banned the printing press is not true. They have restricted restrictions around printing press, and
Mhm.
that restrictions has you can say that the at the same time purification issue and at the same time the civilizational beauty. So
Mhm.
the printing press does not manifest that purification and that beautiness. So that was not accepted. So that was also a reason like why the printing press got not accepted in Ottoman Empire as it was accepted in Germany and the other European countries.
Jazakallah khair. I have due diligence. Due diligence. Welcome to the stage. The topic, as you saw, yeah, I don't know if you saw the whole presentation or not. The topic today is the contribution that Muslims had to the world, especially in the field of science, medicine, astronomy, etc. Do you have any specific question with, with respect to this?
Um, what time period are we talking about? Like seventh century?
From the 7th century all the way to the uh, beginning of what we would term as modern times. All right.
Yeah. No, I don't have any questions at the moment. I'm just trying to listen and catch up.
Okay. Okay. Then I'll put you backstage, brother, because
Okay.
we may continue after the presentations and everything, but not sure if the stream we will have a separate stream or we will have the same stream. But for now, just stick around. We'll have something. All right.
All right.
Okay. I have a question for you, brother Asim, from our good brother Fawad. Right. So he is asking how true this statement is. I put it in the back chat as well. I'll read it out. A unique aspect worth noting is how Muslims made significant contributions after embracing Islam. Unlike the Greeks, Chinese, or Indians, whose advancement largely occurred before their major religions took hold. For example, the Greeks were already advanced before the arrival of Christianity, and so on.
Yeah, so this is a good question, and this is linked with the conflict of science and religion. So basically, this question is related to. So there is an assumption that religion restrict science, and in a sense that notion is true. In a sense, that notion is true.
Mhm.
Why that notion is true in some sense? Because the religious tradition which got corrupted. So always a religious tradition, religious civilization which is corrupted always will conflict with reason. That is the underlying feature of a corrupted religion also. A corrupted faith will always conflict with reason. Yeah. So that is the underlying result of the corrupted faith. So when the faith is pure, like Islam, the Muslims, when they accepted Islam and their faith was not corrupted, so they don't have this issue of conflicting faith and reason, science and religion. They didn't face this issue. When you are very clear on the horizon of what you are doing, so your advancement will be so advanced, like uh, the pace, the quality, everything will be very different when you don't have conflict in your mind. So the people like the materialistic people today, you will see they don't have this kind of conflict. They have
Mhm.
decided that we have to remove the faith entirely. We don't have, even if the modern civilization will accept any religion besides Islam, they will go into same conflict: science and faith, religion and faith, and this conflict will hold them to do any kind of advancement. So they have decided, okay, we will remove this, and they become purely materialistic, and from the materialistic aspects they are doing advancement. Muslims don't have this kind of conflict, but they were not materialistic, so their viewpoint was spiritual, the god centric view. And no religion like Christianity, Judaism, or Hinduism, or any other religion was able to do these things which Muslims did, because they have the clarity in their thought. They don't have this kind of conflict. So if you will read the history, Muslim history, Muslim civilization, you will conclude a different notion about science and religion. But if you will read another civilization, you will find the common popular notion that there is a conflict between faith and science. So the result is basically an underlying assumptions that there is conflict between science and religion, and that conflict arises from the corrupted nation of religion.
Yeah, I actually have a follow up. So, in case of Christianity, it almost seems like they went backwards after adopting Christianity and started advancing after the separation of state and religion. Or is that a true statement, or is that a true observation?
Uh, in case of Christianity, it almost seems like they went backwards after adopting. We can't say they went backwards. They went backwards. Yeah, their pace was very slow, and why it
Hmm.
was slow? Due to the conflict, due to the conflict in thought. That's why they don't have the motives and clarity to do advancement in these fields. So we can say that their pace was not as expected. The civilizational growth pace was not as much as it was
Hmm.
expected. But after the separation of state and religion, like basically they didn't separate religion and state only. They removed the iman or the religion from their scientific realm, and they become purely materialistic, and the conflict also gone, the reason and the faith conflict has gone, and then their pace, uh, their growth become huge.
Okay. Uh, so, brother Jose, assalamu alaikum, akhi. How are you doing?
Walaikum salam, brother. I'm doing fine, man. And yourself? And yourselves?
Alhamdulillah. So, brother Asim, brother Jose is, mashallah, a young, a young brother from Mexico, right, Jose?
I'm from Texas, but I'm
Or
Mexican. Yeah.
yes, you're from Mexico, but you're living in Texas, South Texas, mashallah.
Yeah.
And he
Yes, sir.
recently became a Muslim on our channel as well. And
Uh,
so, brother Jose, do you have a question for Sheikh Qasim? And can you make sure it's relevant to the topic? Because well, the topic today, I would recommend that you listen to the presentation if you haven't done so.
yes,
The
yes.
topic today is what the Muslims contributed to the world, right?
Yeah.
And because the contributions were significant, especially in medicine and science.
Yeah. I don't know too much specifically what Islam has given to like all the parts of the world, but I do know it's math and science and stuff like that. But like I'm Latino, right, man? So my people come from like Spain and stuff like that, right? So when I
Hmm.
began to do like research, trying to find the connection, started going into
Brother Jose, your
to
connection is really bad.
you
Your
know.
connection, your connection is really bad. You're breaking up, Akhi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Right
it
now.
gets better sometimes. They try speaking. Brother Asim, were you able to catch any of that, or because it may be more useful if you can actually just type it in the back chat.
Or look, let me start with this one. Let me know if it's like pretty much
Yeah,
secure, and
no. So type it in the
I'll
back
call
chat
you
because
back.
we can't understand you. Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, so Subhanallah. Yeah, he's a very eager brother, mashallah. There's a lot that's going on in his life, mashallah. But I will wait for his question. I do have a question. Ali, do you have any question for Brother Asim? Are you back, Akhi? Okay, you're not back. So I have a question. I've always thought about this matter, especially right when we're looking at a lot of the discoveries and our um, the advancements that Muslims did, right? We are able to link it up to the Muslims um, wanting to practice their religion better or understand the uh, way Allah has created this world better. For example, we talked about it, right? How algebra, right? It was linked to our search for a better way of understanding um, the inheritance system, right? To be able to decipher that our the reasons why Muslims came up with coffee, right,
Yep.
was because they wanted to do Qiyamul Layl. That was their intention, subhanallah, right? Um, and what was the other one that I was thinking about? The praying, right? That caused them to study the stars and the astronomy, the advancements in astronomy, right? Because I think prior to the Muslims advancing astronomy, what we had was astrology, which was just them studying the stars and the signs to determine what do this type of prophesizing and magic and stuff like that, right? So
Yep.
the link between Islam and scientific advancement,
Yep.
it is there or has there been any studies done that focus on this, or any books that you would recommend our audiences to study that specifically studies this type of link, or anything that you would recommend on this
So
particular topic?
this is an area, developing area, where people are doing research. But
Hmm.
till now, we don't have any very like academic books, which is focusing on this area. Yeah, we have some sort of articles. People have written articles, but the entire book, as per my knowledge, I don't have. But for like knowing the facts and the history, there are 3 volume books called
Hmm.
Encyclopedia of Arab Science, some like this, published in by Cambridge, I think, in 1990s. And this is a 3 volume books, Encyclopedia of Arab Science.
This is from Cambridge.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate that even our traditions have been stolen during the colonialization period, right? The books of our the books that we had, the libraries that we built, the knowledge that we amassed over centuries, those have all been those are all nowadays housed in European museums and European libraries, right?
yeah. So the book name is the history of Encyclopedia of the History of Arabic Science, and published by Routledge, not Cambridge.
Of Arabic science, published by
Routledge.
Rote. Okay, I'll try and see if any one of you, any of the mods can find out the book, and we'll put up the link. Uh, if not the link, at least the name up in the chat. We'll bring it up. Mashallah. So one important piece that keeps coming up. Muslims, we noted about that this information is coming from Aristotle and so on. Why is it that we don't hear a lot about Indian names and Indian people? Because the Muslims definitely read and studied work done by Indian scholars, and their what was it called? What are they called? Rishis, right? That in India, but we don't hear a lot
Rishi,
about.
Rishi is not actually the people who are dealing with science.
No,
Rishi
okay,
is kind of saga, yeah.
okay. So why don't we hear a lot about Indian names or about uh, what do you call it? Or Chinese names? But like we hear about uh, Aristotle and Plato, and we have Arabized names of them. Maybe there are, but are there any prominent names that we find in the Arabic work done by Muslim scholars, which mention these other civilizations?
Yeah, we have some name from India and Persia.
Hmm.
Very less about Chinese from the Chinese civilization. Uh,
Hmm.
but the heavily we have uh, like the contribution of Greek is higher than any other civilization in terms of Islamic civilization, and there is a factor also. Why? Because in Islamic civilization, a whole school of thought emerged from the Greek philosophy. That is our philosopher called a
Hmm.
philosopher, the school of philosopher, and they were primarily based on the Greek philosophy. So they preserved they work on they wrote the commentaries, they worked on the Greek scholars, but that kind of school of thought we didn't see in terms of India or China and the other civilization. They mentioned the Indian ones, but there is no dedicated people who are primarily influenced by Indian knowledge system in Islamic tradition.
Okay. And what about work from other civilizations like Chinese civilization or African civilizations?
So
Has have
African
you come across
civilization
any? Yes.
at the time African civilization like got vanished. So basically
Okay.
Egyptian civilization, that is an ancient civilization, and Muslim learn from the ancient civilization also, like in Egypt. They have their own water system, irrigation system. So Muslim have learned from the system also. Uh, Muslims have mentioned many like the uh, there were physicians, and there was a group in Persia, and basically they were the Jewish people who were living in Persian Empire, and
Mhm.
they have a great influence on Muslim medical tradition. They have the group name. I am forgetting that group name, but there was a group from the Persian traditions, and the word we have, like we have the in Arabic word, we have the for hospital we use the bimaristan, the term bimaristan. So that is a basically loan word from Persian. Bimaristan is used in Persian. So we have this kind of indicators which indicates that Muslim also learn from other civilization, and they given the credit to them.
Mhm. And Brother Asim, we have a few accusations in the chat, which I want to go over with you. There's quite a few. Let's start with this. So, Hindu Sanatani, India fueled the Islamic Golden Age. Pakistani news agency, the Dawn. Now, he's citing an article that was written in a Pakistani newspaper. We don't know who wrote that article. It's just his claim is that based on this article, or based on the headline for this article, he's claiming that all of it was coming from India. All of our golden age is coming from India. How, um, like, is there any truth to this?
The term fueled is exaggerated. I will say that this phrase is exaggerated. If someone is using this, okay, that someone can use this as a piece of newspaper, but in academic field, that term will not be accepted. This is exaggerated field term. So if you will rank the civilization on the basis of the knowledge relationship with the Muslims. So India will rank third. So first is the Greek-Roman, and the second is the Persia, and the third one will be India. So India
Mhm.
fueled the Islamic golden age will not be the right term. So that is a
Yeah.
exaggerated one. Yeah, they have. We are not denying that the Muslim doesn't have any connections with India or Indian knowledge system. They have. We have the books. The entire book Sindh Hind was translated by scholars. So we are not denying. We are accepting, but we are giving the rank which is appropriate to the the people.
Mhm. And this, he continues, math book translated by Al Khwarizmi from Sanskrit, Kitab al Hisbab al Hindi, book
Yeah.
of Indian computation.
Faisal
So,
bhai, Assalamu
yeah,
alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
walaikum
I just
assalam.
want to say that this point was Assalamu alaikum, Asim sahab. Kaise hain
Walaikum
aap? Theek
salam.
thak hain?
Alhamdulillah.
Mhm.
Faisal bhai, I just wanted to say that this was brought up on Kasify stream as well. Exact same thing. And the exact same article was misreferenced and mislabeled the exact same way. The actual title of the article is How the Indus Valley Fed Islam's Golden Age. There is no India in the title of that article, and there's no fuel in the title of that article.
Oh, okay, mashallah.
Yeah. So
So,
it's
what do you expect from in a Hindu, essentially? Like,
exactly
they,
he's going to skew it and he's going to misrepresent it, and
this is
that article is absolutely not academic in
this is
any sense.
unfortunate. This
Yeah.
is really unfortunate. But yes, this book definitely is Kitab al Hisbab al Hindi, right? The Book of Indian Computation. But what does that prove? Yes, we give all the credit to uh, the Indian civilization at the time, the civilization in India or in the subcontinent at the time, for uh, the numeral zero and the understanding of mathematics that came from there. But again, the contribution of the Arabs and the contribution of the Muslims is that we brought in knowledge from all different parts of the world, right? And we used our own methodology to advance it and actually allow humanity to enter into a new stage of civilization. This world today is not possible without the Muslim civilization. Had the Muslims not come in and done what we've done, right, as Muslims, the modern world would have been about 2,000 years prior as well. Because trust me, the throughout history, the only thing we saw was this clash of empires, right? It was the world of empires. There was no intention to build something uh, uh, which can be considered a civilization. So yeah. Um, so do you want to add anything, Brother Asim? Because these type of accusations, there I have a few more, and I just want to go over them with you as well. But
Yeah,
what does this prove?
not much. That just I want to say that the name the name of the book itself is indicating that from where we are taking. Yeah.
Yes,
So that
subhanallah.
kind of honesty we have in our civilization, like we are in the title itself indicating that from where we are taking this.
Mhm. Yeah, subhanallah. Like we credit every civilization that we took anything from, right? And we've seen that others actually don't have this type of mentality when it comes to this. So the next one, due diligence, who was up here, I think he's been going around and doing some googling. So Al-Razi were critical of organized religion, yet their works are still considered part of the Islamic Golden Age because of the time, region, and language in which they wrote. Do you want to add something to that, Brother Asim?
Yeah, so that is a different theological aspect is very different, and we are not saying that the Islamic civilization in terms of knowledge is solely based on Muslims. Even Muslims, we have the Christians, we have the Jewish, some Christians, some Jewish, some Zoroastrian people. They are also part of our knowledge system, our Islamic civilization. And so when we are including the non-Muslim also in our Islamic civilization in terms of knowledge, so the people who have heresy, who are belongs to other sect, is not a big deal. So theology is very different, and the study of civilization in terms of knowledge is very different. So we don't the intermixed with these two different subjects.
I want to ask a question here because this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what Islam was giving. Now we have the concept of dhimmi, or the protected people in Islam. When we're talking about them, how safe were these people, and why were they able to contribute to the advancement of the Islamic civilization as a whole? Because we had Jews, we had Zoroastrians, we had Hindus, we have Christians, we've got all these other faiths living among Muslims, right? And they were safe, they were protected, they were not under any form of threat. The only threat they had was external, right? So is that a reason for why they were able to contribute to our civilization, and that's the reason why we accept their contribution as part of our civilization?
This is one of the reason. And see, only the protection can't be the main reason until or
Mhm.
unless you provide the opportunities to contribute. And that is a very big deal. Like if someone
Mhm.
which is with me, or someone like we who is not the part of the the ummah, or the
Mhm.
community, and you are giving the equal not only the protection, you are giving them the opportunities to work, to develop, to do research, to enhance their own knowledge system, their own the professions. So that is a very a high example how Muslim civilization was unbiased. So allegations related to Muslim political system is also fall apart when you will see these kind of examples, and when you study the civilization from these angles. So only protection is not enough.
Mhm.
You have to provide the opportunities, you have to provide the environment where they can flourish, they can come, they can contribute, they can think, okay, I am also other part of this knowledge system, and they can recognize themselves to one of them, yeah, as a larger system.
Okay. I have this other question from a human. Um, so, why are scholars like Ibn al Haytham and al Razi still considered Muslim despite holding incorrect theological beliefs? Obviously, he translated it from Google or getting it from somewhere, but I mean, we did cover most of it in our last response, but still, do you want to add anything on why people whose theological beliefs we question, or we say that they may have some inconsistencies as far as their theological understanding is concerned, yet we still take them as part of our civilization?
So, yeah, this is purely theological questions, but we have to understand from the theological perspective what is takfir, what is tabdir. Even if someone thinks that they have, the heresy in their belief, so just having heresy will not, you know, like exclude you from the Islam. So we have different criteria of being Muslim. We have different criteria of being Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is not the entire Islam. Yeah. So the people who belongs to non Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah category, they also Muslims, but they are heretic. So basically, we have to take these differences. That one is takfir. So if someone denying the fundamental of Islam, zaruriyat anit deen, so they will be kafir, and they will not be considered as Muslim. And if someone has the heresy in their belief, they will be still they will be considered as Muslim, but they will be
Hmm.
considered as heretic. And as I said that the Islamic civilization, when we talk about the civilization, it doesn't necessarily mean that only Muslims will be included. So even the non-Muslim can be included when we are talking in terms of Islamic civilization, like Ahlul
Hmm.
Zimma and the Mustamin. They people also will be included in that civilization.
Yeah. And it is very hypocritical for people to claim that, oh, the all of these immigrants who come to America and do all of this advancement in their research, right? And uh, just look at where they got the atomic power from. These are all immigrants from Jewish immigrants from Germany and those lands, right? They were able to come to America and help them create this. Similar sort of understanding around the world of all of these advances. They were stealing, if not stealing, then they were, if not stealing the technologies, they were stealing the human resources. That's what the Western world has done, right? So to claim that this is that why can Muslims claim these people as their own, while at the same time attributing all of your advances in the modern society to these immigrants who are not part of the Western world, where most of them are actually coming from the third world countries? That is hypocrisy at its best and ugliest as well. Yeah. So let's.
Yeah, Brother Faisal,
Yeah.
my apologies. I can stay for 7 more minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna remind Ali. Ali, you gotta jump on if you have a question. All right. SMK, do you have anything else? Uh, any question?
Um, question in the sense that I just wanted to ask Sheikh Hassan that Hassan bhai, if you look at the way the Islamic thought kind of brought so many things together and kind of unified them and added a new breath to them, a new life to them, so to speak, could you say that it was very much something that stems from the Deen of Islam? Like, for example, when you have, I have a very small example here in Surah Al-Anam, ayah number 96, where it says, He causes the dawn to break and has made the night for the rest and made the sun and moon to travel. Sorry. And the sun and moon for calculation. That is the determination of the exalted in might and knowing. And then you have other ayats in, for example, Surah Tin. I forgot the ayat number where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the importance and about the introspection and the thought required on the human body. So you have the development of such things as the sciences of biology and anatomy, and especially optics and astronomy.
Do you want to, Brother Asim?
Sorry, I didn't get.
SMK, can you quickly
Okay,
recap that?
I'll reiterate. Asam bhai, I was basically asking that do you feel that our deen and the way the Quran represents thought and asks Muslims to think on certain things, especially natural processes, astronomical bodies, the sky, the human body, and things like this. Do you think that this would very well be a very central source as to what fueled learning and knowledge in the Islamic world in the way it did?
Yeah, yes, we have discussed this point before they starting the the contribution of Muslims. So initially, we have discussed like
Okay.
what is the purpose, why the entire scientific enterprise is there in Muslim society, and why Muslims should do science. So we have discussed, and this
Okay.
is one of the reason that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has encouraged us to see to ponder in natural phenomena,
Hmm.
not to get pleasure, not to get pleasure, or just for the sake of the materialistic comfort. So Allah
That's
Subhanahu wa Taala have encouraged us to ponder in natural phenomena, to understand the uh, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, His glory, His attributes. So we have to do the scientific endeavors, but the purpose and the motives, the method will be different from the materialistic method.
Jazakallah khair, Asim bhai. Actually, I joined a little late. I'll definitely go back and I will rewatch
Yeah.
the introduction. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. All right. Assalamu alaikum, SMK. Okay. And Ali wanted to ask you a question. If he only put the question in the private chat for me, I would have asked you. But uh, anything you want to add, Brother Asim? Because I know there's you focused on a few of our scholars, but if you want to enumerate them, how many do you think uh,
So
need study?
we even didn't cover the entire the subjects. Just
Yes.
I have collected the subject which is familiar to the people, and my intention was that the presentation should not be very academic, so our people got bored and they disconnected from the entire discussion. So there are the entire field of technology which we have to discuss. So just we have discussed about medicine and astronomy and physics, and there are many field in medicine like botany, like pharmacology. So we didn't even touch these topics. So
Mhm.
same like in technology, we didn't even mention the word technology in the entire presentation.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there are other topics like the social sciences, like history, sociology, uh, so economics. So these are the even different fields to discuss. So we have a lot to discuss, and I think we should carry on these kind of discussions, and
Inshallah.
not like
Yeah.
the entire discussion should be conducted and should be confined in one presentation. That is not possible. We
Mhm.
should carry on, and inshallah time to time we can present a specific field and a specific contributions of Muslims.
Yeah, inshallah, inshallah. And we're really honored to have you here with us in the presentation itself. I've always found your presentations very useful. And for our audiences, just remember that we have a playlist where we put the presentations up for you guys to see. We clipped just for the presentation, so you can go and check the previous two presentations that Brother Asim Iftikhar has done for us, right? And I would recommend watching it. Get yourself acquainted, reacquainted with our own history. and make sure you share this with others. This presentation, I personally hold this more dear to me on our channel, on what we do, than some of the other works that we do, because there's a lot of uh, uh, there's a lot that goes into putting these together, and this type of knowledge generally we don't bring it up for the audiences. So make sure to go in, take a look at the previous presentations as well, and get yourself reacquainted with this. So Ali is not sure if he is.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
You're here finally.
Bro, I had
So
to get out.
last question goes to you.
Thank you, boss. Oh, no, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my God. Again, I had to get off the phone for this because a family member was talking to me. But fast forward, no, I needed to get this out, so I actually hung up the phone. So I got So, Chef, before you go, Aki, I just wanted to say thank you so much for presenting. It was very, very enlightening, as a matter, especially for someone like myself. So, whenever you show up on this channel, immediately my brain just lights up with questions, with different scenarios. So, if I was gonna save it with one question, I would say, well, first I would ask you when's the next time you're gonna come back. But okay, but my
Very soon, inshallah. Inshallah, very soon.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
but my one question would be this. So when it comes to the scholars, or not the scholars, the innovators throughout the history. Now, this information was all of this coming from the two epicenters. So, so where was this? I know about Al Andalus, but the main centers. Would you say it was just Al Andalus and Baghdad, or was it other areas as well that may have actually influenced not only some Europeans but some Africans as well. Are you would you have to would you know anything about this as far as the influence?
Or Indians, Ali. Don't
Yes,
forget the Indians.
in the, you know what? Actually, we'll talk about this later. But are there anything besides the Europeans? Are there anything that the Africans, because they were also in North Africa, that the sub-Saharan Africans could have took and was influenced by? Were there certain things that the Indians took that the yeah, basically anything besides Europe? Would you know of this, Saki?
Yeah, so uh, we have to understand that any branch of knowledge is not you like the single entity. So in every branch of knowledge we have different kind of schools. To understand this, like in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we have different kind of school in fiqh. Yeah. So similarly, we have different kind of school in natural sciences also. In
Mm-hmm.
astronomy, we have different kind of schools within the Islamic civilization. In physics, we have different kind of schools. Astronomy, we have different kind of schools, and these schools also integrated with their theological beliefs. So theological beliefs also playing a role to decide uh, which school of thought you will present in natural sciences also. So not only Undrus is very, we can say that a small part of our civilization in terms
Mm-hmm.
of knowledge also, but that was highlighted very much. Why? Because that is a part of Europe. Spain is part of Europe,
Mm-hmm.
so they got highlighted, and they got more attention than other part of Islamic civilization. But the area of Khorasan, like Iran, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, it was distinct from Andalus, and the area of Baghdad, it was distinct from Khorasan and Andalus, and the area of North Africa, including Egypt. So Egypt was representing a school, and even Fez, there is a city, Fez, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in Morocco. So they have different kind of school of thought. So we cannot say that this entire Islamic civilization, in terms of scientific thought, is a unified civilization. We have different
Mm-hmm.
kind of opinion. We have different schools of thought in science also, and the different city, different region is representing their own taste. They have their own flavor. So we have Khorasan, Abra Nahar, they have different taste, different flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Baghdad, Egypt, and the Fez, and then we have Undulus. So we have different many learnings in India. Then we have also in India, Delhi, and the area of Sindh, Thatta. There is a city, Thatta, and then Indonesia, Malaysia. I think they also developed their own unique school of thought, but they're like they become uh, Muslims very late, so their contribution is not as frequent as the area which got converted earlier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And uh, I'm definitely gonna be watching your presentation and to get myself acclimated to a lot of these innovators and just fulfill like just fill myself with this knowledge because I'm having trouble speaking right now because my mind is racing. So please do forgive me. But again, I just want to say thank you for your presentation and let us know as soon the next time as soon as you can appear again, Akhi. I would definitely be looking forward to it, especially for
Yep.
a historical enthusiast just like myself. So I'm always excited when you show up.
Jazakumullah, barakallah
Yeah.
fikum. Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair,
Soon
Brother Asim.
I'll be again here, inshallah, among you.
Inshallah,
And
yes.
barakallah fikum. Prayer for me. And jazakumullah khairan.
Definitely. May Allah.
Thanks to everyone, audience who was listening and who are commenting here. Make dua for me. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
Wa
rahmatullahi
alaikum
wa
salam wa
barakatuh.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Akhi. May Allah reward you for all of your work.
All right. And uh, thank you so much, Brother Athar, as well, for helping us put this together. And obviously, Brother Asim, we know he is quite busy, uh, um, but definitely very knowledgeable and very insightful details that have been discussed. So, this is pretty much it. So we are actually going to wrap up on this stream, and
Yeah.
we are going to have a different stream starting in about 10 minutes from now.
Okay. You have an
Our
open panel.
regular open panel, okay, and the topic will be what is keeping you from Islam, right? So
Mhm.
for our anyone over here, you can in the back chat, you can jump on to that stream. I'm putting the link on for you, and mashallah, like there are quite a few brothers and sisters watching. Some of the people wanted to come up and join us for a discussion. We will carry on those discussions, inshallah, on the open panel stream, right? And for our brothers who our regular brothers who normally join us, I would be putting the link in our chats so you guys can come up. Give me 1 second.
All right.
All right. And so we will see you guys, inshallah, in
10
about
minutes. 5 to
minutes.
10 minutes. But wait, actually,
Um,
before we end the stream, I have to say this. I have to say this because of what we discussed earlier. So you brothers and sisters who saw the reminder, you may have seen the thumbnail of a person sleeping that looks like the European depiction of what Jesus looked like. That we just thought earlier when we were
yeah.
having this discussion. It was very, very funny. And so as it turns out, so just for clarification, that's not Jesus, peace be upon him. That's not that even the European depiction of Jesus actually was from the Pope Alexander VI, his son, Caesar or Caesar Borgia. So almost every depiction where you see the golden locks, as if he's from a rock band or whatever, light skin, that depiction of Jesus, peace be upon him, which is not, that's actually the Pope's son. So this is why I felt it was, the more I looked at it, actually, the more I enjoyed it. Just like,
Mhm. Wait. The Pope had a son?
yeah, Pope Alexander VI, that was the Pope's son, Caesar or
Yeah,
Caesar Borgia.
but a Pope had a son.
Yeah,
aren't they? Don't they have some sort of this?
this rule. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. This chastity.
they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
supposed to procreate, right? They're not supposed to engage in any um, hanky
Yeah.
panky, as you
Okay.
might say.
If you look at the history of popes, you'll be surprised on which pope did what. Even that's why if you actually look at even if you actually look at some the worst popes in history, many historians
Mm.
would agree that Pope Alexander the Sixth actually
So,
was probably the worst pope.
so
Him and
Ali,
then
let's continue this discussion
yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the open panel, inshallah. Right.
No
All
problem.
right. With this, I would just remind our brothers and sisters: like, share, and subscribe to our stream. Please make sure that you're doing so. Comment when we're done with the stream, and it allows the YouTube algorithm to share it more with more and more people. Okay, and then one important message for our brothers: we do have Rihatul Arab, as you saw when we come on. You see the presentation from our brother Al Yamani's website, Rihatul Arab. He has a discount going on about 30%. The 15% discount, if you use the DOTS 15 code, will give you an additional 15% off. So do not, it's almost half price. Do not
Literally,
let go of this opportunity. Go ahead, uh, get your perfumes over there, get your ither over there, right? And it's a sunnah to have something like this on which um, is pleasant for the brothers and sisters around you. All right. So
and
with
guys,
that, assalamu alaikum.
one second,
Go
one
ahead.
second. Guys, when they say 50% off, Ikhwan, it's money. As someone who can be seen as cheap, any opportunity that we have that you have for a discount, especially with a product that is definitely worth it, and of course we'll be supporting by the M&A as well. Ikhwan, this is a good deal. We just can't overlook. So take advantage of this opportunity. Go off and reach go to the website, find out which is your taste. Are you a sweet? Are you a musky? Are you a wood? Are you a warm type of whichever one fits your taste? Is very versatile. And again, 15% off, guys. Use this opportunity.
15% off on top of the 30% that he had going.
On top of the 30%. That's even more money. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Guys, take advantage of this opportunity and go off and smell because we all know for men who are seeking to get married, one thing I know that women are definitely attracted to is fragrances. Literally, it's that easy. You smell well, people are attracted to you because of the way you smell. And for of course for females, I'm not gonna say anything else about that because they already know. So, fellas, sisters, take advantage of this opportunity. Go to the website and order it today.
Yes. All right. With that, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam.